My girlfriend's family spent the entire dinner mocking my cheap clothes in Portuguese, but the room went ice cold when I thanked them for the meal in perfect Brazilian slang. I have been dating Isabella for 6 months, and her parents always treated me like a low-class outsider who wasn't cultured enough for their circle. Her father is a wealthy exporter who prides himself on his Rio de Janeiro roots and looks down on anyone he considers a basic American. We were all sitting at their marble dining table for Sunday lunch when the insults started flying across the feijoada. Her mother looked me up and down and told her husband in Portuguese that I looked like a homeless beggar who probably couldn't even point to Brazil on a map. The table laughed as her father replied that Isabella was only dating me as a charity project before she found a real man with money and status. They assumed I was just a clueless gringo because my last name sounds German, and I never mentioned my background. I told Isabella I liked the food, while her brother whispered that I probably thought the black beans were just dirty gravel. My mother is actually a native of São Paulo, who moved to the States for her residency, and she raised me to be completely bilingual. I realized they were even making jokes about my mother being a mail-order bride to explain how someone like me could afford a nice watch. I felt the heat in my face as her father leaned back and told Isabella in Portuguese to make sure I didn't steal the silver on my way out. I waited until the dessert was served, and the father asked me in broken English if I enjoyed the exotic experience. I looked him straight in the eye and told him in fluent, aggressive Portuguese that his hospitality was as fake as the designer shirt he was wearing. I saw the color drain from Isabella's face as I told her mother that my mother was a decorated surgeon from São Paulo who would find their manners embarrassing. I realized they hadn't even mastered the formal grammar of their own language, despite acting like they were the kings of the culture. The calculated silence in the room was so heavy, you could hear the father's gold rings clinking against his wine glass as he started to shake. The digital evidence on my phone showed that I had actually visited their hometown more recently than they had because they were dodging taxes back home. My girlfriend's mother tried to play it off as a joke and claimed that pimenta in the food must have made me misunderstand their words. Mother tried to seduce the conversation back to safety by offering me a vintage bottle of cachaça as a peace offering for my sensitivity. She claimed that in their culture, mocking is a sign of affection, and that I was being too American by taking offense to their slurs. I pulled up a video of my mother's last keynote speech in Brazil, where she was being honored by the governor, and showed it to the whole table. The brother who had called me a beggar suddenly looked like he wanted to crawl under the expensive rug and disappear. Isabella realized the clueless boyfriend act was over, and she tried to claim she was planning to tell them I understood every word. She tried to corner me in the kitchen, and whispered that if I kept quiet, she would make the rest of the night very worth my while in the guest room. The father walked in and realized his daughter was trying to buy my silence with her body because she was terrified of losing her inheritance. Grandma stood up from the corner of the table and announced that I was the only person in the room with any real sangue bomb or good blood. The look on the father's face when I told him I'd be sending the recording of their tax jokes to my uncle who works in federal law was the ultimate payoff. We realized that people who use a language as a shield usually have the most to hide when the shield is shattered. The dinner didn't end with a chow, but with a total family meltdown as the father realized I knew about the offshore accounts he was bragging about in Portuguese. It turned out the business he was so proud of was actually a failing front for a series of predatory loans he took out in Isabella's name. The designer lifestyle they flaunted was built on a mountain of debt that I was able to track through the public Brazilian business registry during dessert. Isabella was left crying in the foyer because her parents blamed her for bringing a spy into the house instead of a rich trophy husband. She tried to text me that she was forced to join in the mocking to please her father, but I saw the deleted messages where she called me a clown to her friends. I am now dating a girl from a family that actually respects people, and I never have to worry about what's being said behind my back. I keep a bottle of that expensive cachaça on my bar as a trophy of the night I dismantled a dynasty with a single sentence. The father is currently under investigation for the very things he was laughing about while I was eating his food. He is a fraud.